I'd like to give you some hints about how to answer the questions on the alcoholic fermentation of yeast lab. First of all, number 1, use the terms carbon dioxide and oxygen to complete the following equation to describe aerobic respiration. Glucose plus what? Which one is the other reactant? Is it carbon dioxide or is it oxygen? Remember, this is aerobic respiration using air. And what is the gas in the air that you use? So that will be the reactant. And then out of these two gases, which one do you breathe out? That would be the product. You can just write the word or you can write the formula. Number 3, humans use yeast every day to make bread, wine, and beer. What is yeast? Yeast is a single-celled organism that is actually a type of fungus. Yeast is actually alive. It eats sugar and does cellular respiration and produces carbon dioxide as one of the waste products. This carbon dioxide is used to make bread rise. Sucrose is actually table sugar. If you have sealed the test tube with a balloon, is that going to make it aerobic or anaerobic? In other words, can air get in or not? Under anaerobic conditions, yeast carries out glycolysis to produce ATP, energy, followed by alcoholic fermentation, which produces two things. If it's alcoholic fermentation, guess what that produces? So you can write the word alcohol as one of the things. The other thing is it will make bubbles of a gas. What gas is usually produced in cellular respiration? It's the same gas you put here. You'll record your observations here when you look at the lab photos. In order to answer the questions at the end of your paper, you'll need your notes from the first day. Here are the notes you'll need. Turn to the last page, and you'll find most of the answers in this chart at the bottom. In this column, you'll talk about the type of respiration that uses oxygen. You will put the two molecules that are produced in normal cellular respiration, which you've already answered earlier. When or where does this happen? The answer I'm looking for is, in which organelle does this occur? And how many ATP are produced? These two columns are the two types of respiration that do not use oxygen. They are lactic acid fermentation and alcoholic fermentation. Obviously, if it's lactic acid fermentation, what molecule is produced? The same with alcoholic fermentation. What's one of the molecules? With alcoholic fermentation, it also produces a gas because that carbonates your beer or the bread or whatever. And so what gas is that? With the carbonation, that should give you a clue. It's the same gas that you breathe out. Where does lactic acid fermentation occur? This time, I want what part of your body does lactic acid fermentation, what type of tissue, and remember this gets sore when you exercise a lot. And of course, how many ATP are produced? Alcoholic fermentation occurs in the one-celled organism we just used in your lab, and it also occurs in plants. Now, what is the main advantage of aerobic respiration? Well, compare the number of ATP. Look at how many ATP this one makes. Look how many ATP these make, and that will give you your answer. Number 27, what is the main advantage of anaerobic fermentation? This one makes so much less ATP that you're probably wondering if there's any advantage at all. Well, it turns out that without oxygen, you are lucky to make any ATP at all. So the very fact that it makes ATP at all, even though it's only a little bit, is the advantage of anaerobic fermentation.